Maxwell, how you doing, my brother?
Hey,
You well?
how you doing, sir? How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm blessed always, in always. I can't
Foundation,
complain. Yeah, of
go ahead.
course, of course. It's nice to do this. I mean, obviously Series 2020 dropped this week, and
First
it,
world.
yeah, there you go. It brought back a flood of memories
Yeah,
from those early days for me, obviously, and I can only imagine what it's like for you being involved in something like this, resurrecting almost 20 years after the original track was rolled out. But let's talk about the new one, because
okay. Yes.
that's where we are. 2020, nice lineup.
Yeah.
I still don't know who my favorite verse is yet.
Me and
I'm
my wife,
struggling.
have been going back and forth about this.
I'm
So
struggling. I love the fact. I love the
he
fact
says
that
novelist.
But yeah, nobody's. Listen, I think he's one of
He's
one of
such a
those underrated
definitely.
spitters out there. Like there's this. He should be a household name. I think people hear the name novelist, but they're not aware of his art and delivery. I love the fact that Bruiser was on it. That's just nostalgic for me. I think the guy.
It was nostalgic for me. That's why I had to have him on it.
No, I love that. He doesn't get enough props for his contribution to the grime scene.
Definitely. Only one.
But I also loved Temps as well. That just brought that energy.
For me, Capo Lee is the young star on the track.
Yeah,
the track. I think for me, Capo Lee says everything I want to say. Like, jumped in the game when I'm mad thing. I weren't really serious, but F it, I'm here now. You know what I mean? So that line says everything for me. It's like, well, he just spoke for me. Like, because, when I jumped in the game, I weren't really serious, but, I am now, and I have been for the last 20 years. So that, for me, the introduction for that was perfect. But yeah, all the other artists is like So Large and everyone. I think everyone done great. But obviously for me, like novelists, obviously my wife, she just loves it. So obviously when your wife loves something, she bangs it out. I'm like, oh, God, I'm have to bread my man. It is a bad boy verse. It is a bad boy verse. If the wife said it's a bad boy verse, it's a bad boy verse.
I mean, everything about his bit with the So Solid.
I think it's because, it's the way he's dressed, what he says, how calm he come on the track, and what he was actually saying, and how he put the serious tag in every sentence, which is what catches everybody's eye. And to be fair, he had a 16, like other people, like Bruce had an 8, and So Large only had an 8 bar, and everyone else had a 16. But that's something we could like map out the track to be so thing. You know what I mean?
So what was it all about? I know it's connected to the bigger project Against All Odds. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah. Big up Slim, big up Femi.
Femi, yeah, of course.
But talk about how you guys brought this in. Why was it so important to capture serious in this way?
So basically, we were talking about like culture, as I said, a culture shift, or just a generational gap, where we're at with music, where the world is at right now. And for me, serious, obviously, people say nostalgic and stuff like that, a lot of people's memories. But when you're gonna do a movie, like you wanna introduce a movie about grime music, and it's not just about grime music, but I'm just saying when you have a music and you're basing it around grime music, then you're gonna need to dig up the origins of grime music, who was behind it, who was around it, who was in it, what tunes were playing, what was thing. And so serious. For me, I come from Pay As You Go, and in Pay As You Go was like Wiley, Target, Genius, and all the rest of us, God's Gift, Major Ace, all of that. And Serious obviously was the first, before the group even formed. I was Maxwell D as an MC doing Serious before I even got in Pay As You Go. So when I had Serious started blowing up, when I was in Pay As You Go, it was obviously a Pay As You Go, right, we got we got Serious, and you know what I mean? So Serious is Maxwell on his own. So it wasn't even like a pay-as-you-go track. So it really was like a culture shift, like, because there wasn't no other MC at the time, I couldn't remember, other than Miss Dynamite, who had a track from the beginning to the end of the song with just one person on it. Like, to sing the whole chorus and verses, there wasn't really much. You had, So Solid had the groups, they had certain tracks like, Oh No, you had Lisa Mafia, and you had Romeo on it, and everyone's in a very They Don't Know, you had Asher D, but then you had Miss Dynamite. I'm just giving you them as an example. So Maxwell D is just one person, you know what I mean? Even though I was a part of a group. So for me, it was a big iconic movement at the time, and it was independent. I wasn't signed with Sony or Universal. It was signed to another independent company, which was Tony for Liberty, and he promoted it off the back of an EMI distribution. You know, we had deals like Parlophone coming in, but he didn't really want to sell it to them for a certain amount of money. He thought the tune was worth more. So independently, he put it in the charts at number 38 at a time where people were selling thousands and thousands of units. It's not like now you get 15,000 downloads and you go to number 1 in the album charts. You know what I mean? This is real units. You know what I mean? Sirius sold a lot of units to even get in the top 40. So that was a massive achievement on itself. Plus, there was no one really out there from East London. I'm from South London as well as I'm from East London. So it was like, there was only people in South London that was doing stuff like that was so solid. Oxide and Neutrino, you know, and all these other garage peers. It was no one from the street culture that was coming out with that song. So I believe that in terms of culture, in terms of music, I was very early. You know, the way we dressed, what I was wearing, what I was saying, you know, the track itself. I produced the track with a little bit of help of a couple other people, as in Carl D and GT and that. But like, that was me. That was my fault, my baseline, my sound, what I was trying to deliver to people. And I was just young. You know what I mean? It was no one out there. So that is definitely not been, when you talk about what are tracks that are changed UK culture, Sirius should always been up there in those conversations. And I don't think it did get the just deserve that it did. So for me, you know, using it for a soundtrack for a grime movie makes so much sense. You know what I mean? When they come to me with that, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, of course. Sirius has definitely been driving the grime culture. And even what I say, don't let me get serious, draw for my 9 and MCs get capped. Listen, they was playing that on Radio 1 back in the day. Now I got bag of radio edits on it. You know what I'm saying? So they're more in tune to what you're saying and in the culture. So yeah. Sorry, a bit long-winded, but yeah, that's how I kind of put it.
No, it's interesting you give that insight, because I remember, and I guess this points to how long I've known you. I've known you since you were in a single figure. So yeah. I mean, I remember, what was that? 2001, 2002, 18 years ago. My sister's 31 now. So I remember. Me and my brother, we hired you to come and do a PA at her 13th birthday.
Wow,
for Sirius. She's 31.
Woo!
So so I remember.
God damn, you're making me feel so old, man.
But I mean, listen, you're wearing it well, my brother. We all are, to be quite fair.
We have done all right.
Yeah, we all are. But I remember that that was a big thing for her and her peers, and obviously she was not long in secondary school. And I was thinking just before I did this interview, I had no idea that 18 years later,
I know,
you'd still be performing this track, let alone doing a remix, let alone presenting, being involved in this film Against All Odds with Nicky Slim Singh and Femi, which is out next month, right? November 30th. Is that correct?
Yeah,
so I just had no idea that this was gonna all take off. And when we think about it, I guess 2001, 2, when this track was born and was doing the rounds. 2003, Dizzy Rascal came with, you know, his Mercury Award. I think that was the year. And it's just gone from strength to strength ever since. Did you, and I know you must have answered this question a million times, but did you ever believe in, you know, any shape or form that you'd still be here talking about grime in 2020?
Bro, if I be honest with you, there was many a times I just gave up on the music. You know what I mean? Like literally throughout the 20-year process, it's not been knocking away like, oh, I'm here now. Nah, man, it's been a battle. I didn't have no idea. I mean, I didn't even have no idea when I started. When I started, it was about fun, and I was still heavily involved in the street. You know what I mean? So music was just like, it was like a hobby. You know, it weren't making no bread. You know what I mean? So everything I done for music was just passion. It was love. It wasn't there for the pennies. It was no pennies. It was just come on there, spray your bars, be the best, get heard. Yeah, it was a dream. My dream was to be like Steve Hyper D, like be in a jungle rave and spray some bars. That's as far as I didn't know it goes in the charts. The closest thing to superstardom that I used to see was P. Diddy in shiny suits. Look, but that was a whole nother world away for me to even be. So I didn't take none of it seriously. So to think that, did I ever think 20 years down the line I'll be doing serious remix? And you know what's funny? I done one in 2006, to be fair. But it was just a favor for New Brand Flex. And that was all over Channel U. And that became a Channel U anthem. And that was in 2006. And they just asked me, oh, Max, can you just, you know, put a serious hook down? And they done their thing. And I saw the impact in that. Because when we started doing some PAs in schools and that, and I was like, oh my God, it's a completely new generation. and they're singing serious. And then, yeah, and for it to be still performed to this day at festivals and all these different places, it's carried me. Like, and when I say carried me, it's stuck with me for my whole career. That's who Maxwell is. Serious Maxwell D. So to be doing it 20 years later, like, God knows he's got a plan. It's not even that me. It's just whatever God decides. He wanted this tune to be here, and it's here.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, watching your career at close quarters and being privy to, I guess, a bit more than most people.
Definitely.
It's been peaks and troughs for you. There's been
100%.
some real highs and some real lows.
Definitely.
Your book should be out by now, my brother, because it would, I think, paint an important blueprint for young artists coming through and document a period in history that will never be replicated. There will be there'll never be a birth of grime again. So
the problem was, the reason why I didn't do it before is because I didn't feel that I was at the point where people would listen, and pay attention. That's all I was trying to do. I haven't been in the machine for 20 years. And like me and my wife, we talk about this a lot. And it's like, when I say I'm not in the machine, is that my area can only go so far as an independent artist. I can only get there. I can't compete with the guys in the big machine. They are, you might as well say, you're trying to compete with Lloyd's Bank. I can't compete with Lloyd's Bank. You know what I'm saying? So so for the times that you're trying to get heard and seen, and other people are out there, it's been a struggle to be heard and seen. And even though people still rate me and still see me, so there's always going to be the highs and lows. The highs are when you're getting over a hill and you're like, yo, I'm here now, and you're trying to climb up more ladders, and then something else happens and life happens and you're back down and you've got, so that's just how it is. But if I felt like now that I've been given an opportunity in the machine, you can see the impact. So that means I always had an impact. I always was someone, but it's just that somebody needed to come along and kind of give me that, put me in that space like, yo, you're not understanding who this guy is. This guy's done a lot for the culture. This guy has been at the pinnacle of a lot of things, and his tracks and music and his talent deserves to be shown. And so, yeah, here I am. And then, so for me, it's just like, yeah, it's been a lot of highs and lows, and half the time, gave up loads of times, but nobody wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Yeah, I'll give up for 5 minutes of the day. I don't want to do this no more. And then, like, by the end of the day, I'm writing some bars. I'm gonna kill these motherfuckers. I'm gonna kill. You know what I'm saying? So this is how it goes, man.
You mentioned Capo.
Oh yeah.
I guess he represents that young gen on Serious World 2020.
Definitely.
Talk about that younger generation and just,
yeah. I mean,
do they still have to battle with the machine in the way that you did?
I think the differences with the young kids are like this. You see, if I come into the game right now and social media, when I first come out and we had social media, you got to remember, I was still heavily on the street as well. So that means whatever technology we got, that means all colleges would have known about me. That means every college person would have been following me. It's just your whole generation will be in tune with you, doing stuff to boost you because you're new. But when you're like 10, 15 years in the line, the generation gap's different. So there's some things that Capo and a lot of these artists do to push themselves that I wouldn't know how to do. It's a whole new audience out there, a whole new way. They've grown up with technology. I'm still trying to learn it in some ways and trying to get into it and find out all the little hashtags and whatever they need to do. So it's like rewiring myself again. So when I look at people like Capo and I think, yo, man, these artists they're skilled at what they're doing, but they also understand how to put themselves out there in a certain light. You know what I'm saying? So they've I learn from them as well. You know what I mean? So it's important to have these people around and collaborate with these artists because they are on a different vibe. And even his style and his skill, don't get me wrong, there's millions of up and coming spitters, but he definitely stands out for me. His texture, the way he puts his wordplay together. And he's been done a lot of big moves, JME collaborations and FIFA, and he's out there. He's definitely, Stormzy bigs him up to me. I had my eye on him for a minute, and I was like, yeah, this kid's got something. There's definitely something about this kid. Yeah. Man.
Who's the king of grime, Maxwell?
I don't think there is a king of grime, to be honest. And I know, and you know why I say that? Because, how can you call yourself king of grime? And I don't want to say this, and this is very political. You can't call yourself king of grime if you do other music. You know what I mean? You're just an artist. No, correct? I don't think one artist has just done grime and solely made a killing of grime to be saying he owns the crown of grime. Not Wiley, not Skepta, not Stormzy. And I love these guys, as in, like, I love what they do. and I love how talented I am. But, you know, Skeppy, he does other stuff. You know, same thing as Stormzy, he does other stuff. And same thing with Wiley, Wear My Rolex and all these other tunes. You know what I mean? He had to do other stuff. Grime has been our bed and has been our culture. But when we get out, we still have to put on our clothes and our jacket and go out through the front door. And outside that front door, there's only a certain section of grime. We want grime to be massive. We want grime to be worldwide. But unfortunately, it isn't at that. So other people have to do other music. So how can you say king of grime when you don't, when it's just not grime that you're representing? You're representing the UK. So it's quite hard to say who the king of grime is. People will say that Wiley's the king of grime. The reason why I say they can say Wiley's the king of grime is because he contributed to making it, to making this sound that we didn't even know. We didn't even have a name for it. We didn't even know it was called grime. I think people were saying, oh, your lyrics are grimy, your bars are grimy, you look grimy, you dress grimy. So it's just grime, innit? So, but then you could say Skepta, you know, he's had loads of success. Then you could say Dizzy, you know, Dizzy's had loads of success. But yet again, they all come up off grime, but they didn't continue to sit down in it and say, right, I've only done a grime music from day one to where I am now, so I am the king of grime. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand your prerequisite. I just wondered what you thought on that whole debate. If it even is a debate anymore, I don't know.
I think it's yet again egos, yet again division, divide. What, like king, this, that? Who cares? That crown don't mean nothing if you're not king of your yard. you know what I'm saying?
All right, let me flip it on its head then, and I'm sure that much of the answer will be the same. But I just want to put it in context. Who's the queen, and why isn't a light shone on the female contributions to this genre more often? And I hope this film does that.
You know what? Do you know what? To be fair, yeah. Funny you said that. I think Clashing has a certain vibe about it, certain male testosterone. Don't get me wrong, the females clash all day long. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong. I'm not saying it's not a sexist comment. This is just saying that, yet again, it's taught like men dominating. So it has a certain male dominating vibe. So yeah, women always get pushed to the back because they're, you know, feminine and, you know, sexy or whatever. Like, so men don't regard a woman to come unless she's coming looking like a tomboy, like butched and whatever. It's been very rare. You have an elegant girl in a skirt, dressed up, whatever, coming with just spraying her bars and just laying it down. It's very, very rare. But that's what it does need. It does need that because it's just the art, not about the image. It's about the actual art itself. So the problem, there isn't a queen in grime music. If there was ever to be a queen, yet again, I'm gonna bring that same argument. Is there what female artist has just done grime? I think Lady Alicia would be classed as the queen of grime, but yet again, she does other types of music. So I don't know. That is a question I can't even answer myself fully. I can only give my opinion on it. You know what I mean? I don't have the answers. I can only give you an opinion.
Against all odds, clearly, yes. Grime still being here is against all odds, and I like the name of the film.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I can imagine that you had some creative input into that, but with Slim at the wheel, there's definitely a guy who knows the trajectory of that music genre. He was central to it.
He was right beside us. He's a part of East Connection. He had, you know, got to deal with Mega. They signed We're Ready. He was being a part of my life and my career from the earliest. We, you know, friends, you know, all of us, you know, we've all grown together. So yeah, he can know it more than anyone. But I want to say this is not actually a long movie. You know, it's a short film. It's like 40 minutes, and it doesn't just, even though it's about grime music, it's not just based around grime music. It's also about people's lives in grime, the struggles that they had to do. You know, getting up, running to radio station, being late, going across. You see real life issues within it, and there are other lead-ups after this thing, so I can't really talk on stuff because it's not my place to say, but there are things coming off, spin-offs off the back of this grime movie. But as I said, it's about people. Yeah, you know, there's been a lot of documentaries, and to be honest, I ain't even been in any. You know what I mean? Like, no one ain't even come to me, and I'm like, whoa, I got all the information you want. Like, I'm here, like, but as I said, my area can only go so far. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so this is perfect. I think the grime music needed this. The culture needed this. you know, it brings a lot of nostalgic thing. You're gonna watch it and had a couple jokes. You're gonna see so many things that you know and you was around and you was there. And yeah, it's just to bring that to light and show people that even though you got drill, you got all these different UK rapper now. Once upon a time, we had that fight. We was getting banned from raves and stuff like that. You know, I come from drum and bass, jungle. I've seen it generations in, which brings my old age in, you know what I mean? But like from jungle to garage being locked off, grime raves being locked off, and then, you know, all this stuff. And then now we're in drill. So it's important that for grime, what it done, it didn't just give you another underground culture. It made pop stars. You know what I'm saying? It made pop stars. It was the first time that our culture, don't get me wrong, So Solid brought a lot from garage music and Pay As You Go even, myself, you know, I'm serious than that. But when to be honest, garage, the crews from garage introduced grime. Because grime for me isn't just about the music, it's about the culture, the way of life, what we was wearing, what we was saying, what we do, you know? So that for me, from the Cartless and the Soul Solids and the Pay As You Goes and the Nasty Crews and the More Fires, all of that radio, Deja Vu, Rinse FM, all the people and producers, that's grime music. And that is what the movie, you know, kind of projects. And that's what people need to see, how it got and what it done, how much of a big culture shift grime music was for the industry. Yeah.
I'm glad you homed in on the fact it tells the stories of different people, because I think that's one of the most, especially from a London-centric grime-loving point of view. And I want people who are watching this from all over the world and
yes,
the UK specifically to understand that that's my view, and I guess yours. It's very London-centric. It was birthed here. But I can only imagine how it's impacted lives beyond the capital. But just looking at, you know, the generation of artists that have been spawned, who have gone on to be millionaires, pop stars, living a better life. I mean, I think it was Getz who wrote a line and alluded to it recently about how is grime going to get him a mortgage, and you know he's seen that happen firsthand, and people have got multiple mortgages off this music genre. Let me ask you a question: is it going to be here for another 20 years?
I mean, all right, when I started garage, okay, let's say jungle, before I went to prison and stuff, I thought jungle was going to be here forever. I thought I was going to be raving to Steve D and the world for the rest of my years. I didn't know anything else, did I? You know, and then garage came. I come out of prison and garage was hype. And then I was in that world and I was like, this is it. I couldn't see garage ever going nowhere. Can you look how big it was everywhere, like, you know? And then we started playing darker garage. And, you know, and we started making our own music and added to that same tempo kind of thing. And then grime was birthed. And then we started clashing and crews were evolving everywhere. And I was like, yeah, that's it. This is it. Everything grime. Grime is everything. But then that died down and then funky come around. And then it was like, oh, this is like garage again. But this is like a different kind of vibe. And I was like, oh, let me have my little 2 pence to it then. You know, little Blackberry hype for a little, you know what I mean? And it's like, yo, and I thought, funky would never die. It was like getting deals and migraine skank and this one and that one. And we're here and boom. That just went, and then house music started popping up. Everyone's going house music, doing balloons out, and then that, you know, and then that culture's still around, but it's worldwide. But it's London vibe of it. It just, you know, and then just drill, which sounds like grime to me, but just a completely different format. They just kind of like grime. They've got the underground feel, tempo slightly the same, different pattern of kicks and that, and the way they flow over it is just a little bit different, but it just sounds like grime to me. So now they call it drill, and way grimier than us lot. let's have it, like, you know. But it's still what's going on in society today. So what do I say that is grime going to be around? To answer your question, is grime going to be around in 20 years? I don't know. It could do. It could be, because now I'm going to go back to these other stuff. Is drum and bass still around? Yeah. Is funky still around? Yeah. People still make music, so it's a funky. Is grime still around? Right now, after the film when it come out? Yeah. I think it will be around, but is it going to be the in thing? That's what we need to ask. Is it going to be the actual popular? Is the light going to be running around? It will still be here, but will people be running around saying, grime, we need to go and get a grime, we need to get a grime artist? I don't know. You know, it's always about the narrative from the corporate companies, what they think can invest and make money for them. Simple.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for your time. Serious World Series 2020. Before I let you go, this year's been mad for everybody, right?
Oh.
So obviously you didn't. How long have you known about this whole project, Serious World, and how long?
I was on my honeymoon in LA last year, and but man come to me a while and said like, "Yo, I got an idea. I want to use serious," and everyone comes to me serious. I'm like, "Oh, leave me alone." Like, no, and I'm not interested. And like, no, Nicky was like, "No, got an idea. I'm patent it for this movie." Da, 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 da. I said, "Cool, no problem. All right, because it's you, my brother. No problem. I'll do it for you." Then he come back to me. He's like, "Yo, I'm gonna do Rookie. I got this idea." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Cool." And then he phones me, and I'm in LA. It's like literally early hours in the morning. I'm on my honeymoon, and he's just like, "Yo, I'm in the studio right now with Rookie." So I've known about it for a year, and I had to just zip it. We shot the video in like July, like June, and I'm seeing little other videos that like maybe I think Nines' video and Yeezy's video had a little thing. But I'm like, damn, man, like I shot this time ago. They wouldn't have known, you know what I mean? They could have never have known. So it was just like, I just look at it as great minds think alike. And you know what I mean? So yeah, I've known about it for a while. So I had to sit on it for the whole year. I released 2 albums at the beginning of the year, done other music, but I always knew this was coming. So this was like my, you know what I mean? The whole project, the billboards, everything was like, big up Motown UK as well, big up Freesha, big up Rob. You know what I mean? Just literally gave a light on this. So it's been a while. So this is not just something that was planned a couple months ago. This has been a while in the making. So that's why everything had to be right. So yeah, Series 2020 wasn't a joke, man. It had to be the remix that made sense, you know?
All right, cool. Well, hopefully, against all odds, I mean, the music's, you know, been nice to kind of listen to and just kind of feel good about, you know, like I said, it's coming from an era where we was all in a different space. And yeah, to see it resurface is great. And I just hope Against All Odds kind of brings that same feeling, really, and whatever spin-offs come, because I can only imagine where this could go. And just the two involved, Femi and Slim, I'm going to be speaking to them. I can only imagine them wanting to get feedback from the audience and develop some organic, you know, products moving forward. So that'd be good to see.
Just before you go, I would say that I think that it's very important what Femi and Nicky have done with music and film. I think a lot of people need to focus more on this music and film. I've been doing it for a while. I've had music in TED. I've had music in Blind Spotting. You know, we've campaigned for Barack Obama's 2008 election. Like, there's been loads of things I've been involved in behind the scenes, and that no one doesn't realize how lucrative and understanding how important and what you can do, how much more of an impact you can make with music and a film. The film tells much more of a story than just the record, you know? So you can get more culture response and more things in it out of the movies when you put them together. So I think that's smart what they've done, and I think that more people should kind of, you know, latch on to that way of making music with films. Definitely.
I'll add to that. I think the corporates need to give people like Femi and Slim even more money to recreate art from an authentic and organic place that represents not just where you and I, Maxwell, come from as young black men, but a culture that's impacted on the wider demographic in this country. So that's what I would say. That'd be my 2 pence worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Listen, my brother, wishing you continued success and just keep doing what you're doing. I can't wait for the movie, and I wish you all the best with the track. Yeah?
Thank you. November the 30th, people, pre-order. Peace.